just looking for something to play. You go to these game conventions, these game stores, overwhelmed with the selection. How are you feeling? You got John Riggs here, and along with a couple of my friends, going to be checking out 10 different recommendations, each on their own platform, their own console. And if you're looking for a specific recommendation just for you, on Cameo as well. Now, I've been on Cameo for a while now, but it's always been like birthday shoutouts and stuff like that. I was like, wait a minute, I recommend video games all the time. If you're looking for a specific recommendation customized just for you, I'll do it on Cameo for cheap. With the Analog Duo available now, let's talk about Parasol Stars for the TurboGrafx 16. This is the story of Bubble Bobble 3. If you figure Rainbow Islands as Bubble Bobble 2, well, then I guess Parasol Stars is Bubble Bobble 3. Came out on the NES in PAL regions. We never got it in the United States, but the TurboGrafx 16 version was the version I had back when I was playing my TurboGrafx 16 back in the early 90s. And if you like Bubble Bobble, it plays a lot like those Bubble Bobble style games. This plays more like Bubble Bobble than Rainbow Islands did. You got your parasol, that's your umbrella, and that's how you could either like thwack enemies and then pick them up and throw them. You can also use your parasol to float down platforms as needed. You can even collect water to use as a weapon as well, and other things later on too. But what a great game. What a super colorful game. I like how the enemies in this one are musical instruments. Like in Bubble Bobble, they're all like wind-up toys and stuff. And this one, well, they're all kind of like wind-up musical instruments in a way, with the trumpets and the castanets and... Castanetas? Is that what they're called? Yeah, you know. If you love Bubble Bobble, you're going to love Parasol Stars on the TurboGrafx 16. And with the new Atari 2600 Plus that plays physical cartridges, maybe you're looking for new Atari games to play. Well, Journey Escape, that's right, they made a video game based on the band Journey. They had one in the arcade. This one plays nothing like the arcade version. This is its own version. You have to get your 5 members of the band to the concert on time, basically, by jumping in this ship that you see at the beginning of the game. But blocking your path along the way are these rabid fans. Those are the hearts. These shifty-eyed promoters. Those were always my favorite guys. they steal your money, too, while you're at it. You got barricades, you got the paparazzi, those are the flashing light bulbs, you know, the flashing bulbs there. And you have to like make your way to the top of the screen. And when you go up there, that's when you're running, that's when things move faster, but as things get in your way, it pushes you back down the screen. So you just gotta do what you can to maneuver and dodge around them and everything. Every once in a while you'll find like this alien thing that will make you invincible for a little while. And eventually you will find your ship, usually at the last few seconds of any stage. And then when you find your ship, you crash into it, not crash into it, but you know, you get to it, you touch it. And then it moves on to the next character, the next band member. And then as the stages progress, the sporadic movements of the enemies get worse and worse. So every once in a while you'll find like this Kool-Aid guy looking thing too, and that will give you invincibility until the end of the stage. So the little blue alien guys for a couple seconds, the other thing all the way to the end. And if you miss your ship, you lost the game. It does not come back. Journey Escape for the Atari 2600. I played an ungodly amount of this game when I was growing up. I still enjoy playing it today. For the PlayStation 1, we gotta talk about Bust a Groove. Now, I'm actually showing you the Japanese version of this game right now, but both games are the same. Essentially. There might be like a different translation of a name, and it doesn't matter. They couldn't call it Bust a Move in America because our Puzzle Bobble was called Bust a Move, so call it Bust a Groove. It actually might make a little bit more sense. And it is a dance rhythm battle game. During this time, there are so many rhythm games, and I love rhythm games. You know, Dance Dance Revolution, Parappa the Rapper, the list goes on and on and on and on. This one was cool because it had cool music, had easy button presses, and really what you see here is, now I'm playing as the dude on the left here. I'm not doing the best, but bear with me. So it tells you what buttons to push, and then you have to hit the X or the circle, depending on, you know, which line you're looking at, on the beat, on the fourth, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the 4, that's when you hit the button. And the other buttons ahead with like the arrows, whatever direction the arrows are pointing, you can push those at any point, whatever's best for you. You can tap those out of the way as long as you hit that button on the beat, on the drop, on the 4th beat per measure, then it signifies. And you just keep going and going and going. You'll do a nice combo. That's how you play the game. I can't tell you how addicted to this game I am. When it first came out, when I first played it, oh boy, I played it all the time. It's just fun. You can also do these things where you can attack them as well. You have both, your other buttons, instead of like X and circle, your square and triangle are both attack them. If you hit that button on the downbeat, then you'll attack them, or if you hit the button, you will dodge theirs. And they'll telegraph theirs, but you got 4 beats to do it, because they'll signify it, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and on that 4th you have to hit your button, or you lost your combo. and you're phased for a little bit. Not a fun look. I would love it if they brought this back. I know rhythm games aren't in style anymore, but Bust a Move, or Bust a Groove rather, here in the United States. And there was a second one as well. I'm more nostalgic for the first one, but yeah, it was super, super fun. Not the kind of game you can play on an emulator. I am playing this on a Mister and doing okay. But for the most part, you need that lagless proof to play this game. So, you know, definitely play it on an actual CD, on an actual PlayStation 1. It's the only way to play this game, really.
Hey everyone, when John asked me to recommend a game, I was a little nervous, nauseous, because, well, it's John Riggs. I've been a fan first, and now it's crazy that I get to be in one of his videos. So, but after that subsided, I got my wits about me. I immediately thought of Elebits for Nintendo Wii. This is an underrated gem, in my opinion. Came out in 2006, and I was able to get it in 2007, my first duty station in Okinawa. And it got me through a lot of nights. It's a really fun game where the Wii controls actually probably the best in any of the Wii games I've used, where it actually worked really well. And you aim and you capture these Elebits, and when you capture them, you use them to restore power back into the room. And the more power you restore in the room, the further you advance, and you get a grade system. So the better you do in the room, the better the grade. You need at least a C grade though to pass each level. And again, a really fun game. It's really affordable. If you can pick it up and you have a Wii and you're a fan of the Wii, then by all means, I highly recommend this one. Thank you for watching, and John, geez, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Excalibur 2097 is the name of this game for the Super Nintendo. That's right, we got a Super Nintendo game on this list today, as we often do. I do love my Super Nintendo, and Excalibur 2097, it just blends in with all the other science fiction-y, let's put a bunch of X's and Z's in games' names to make them sound cooler than they are. But I'm here to tell you, this game's already cool enough. You didn't have to call it Excalibur. It didn't have to be called any of that. It's a fun game, and I like the fact that you have different slashes, too. You have a slash, you have a thrust, you have another kind of like a swing that makes the projectile happen, too. Graphics are pretty cool, the music's pretty cool, it's just a pretty cool game, and I think it's worth checking out. I mean, yes, there are a lot of games just like this, but this one specifically, Excalibur 2097, I think I remember, it was one of those games I rented once, and I was like, it's kind of cool, but didn't really think too much of it until later on when I started like buying Super Nintendo games like later in life, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this game, and I actually show more of an appreciation for it now than I did then. I'm sure back then I was playing something else and it was a good rental at the time, but you know, there's nothing wrong with games like this. I do like games like this quite a bit, so happy to see this, and just wanted to share it with you. And just in case you happen to find it at a convention, you see it pop up with everything else, and you're just like, whatever. It's pretty cool, check it out. I got my different homebrews available right now for sale, my book about breakfast cereal of the 80s and 90s, my different unique air fresheners like this one that smells like a 1980s arcade complete with menthol cigarettes, wood paneling, spilt cola, and a rusty gumball machine. You can grab any of these right now in my link in the description below. Hey, let's talk about the Sega Genesis and Insector X. If the game says Sage's Creations on the title screen, you know it's going to be a pretty decent game. That's my Genesis rule of thumb there. It's a side-scrolling shooter. I mean, honestly, there's not a whole lot going on with this game that you can't find in a lot of other games, but I liked the difference of you weren't in outer space. It wasn't World War II. It was just, I don't know, you play as this kind of a mechanical bug, at least in this version, and then the enemies are also bugs, you know, that are bugging you. That's right, they're flying around and flying and getting your way as Insector X. Music's pretty cool. I remember I liked the music to this game quite a bit. It's just another side-scrolling shooter. You've played a bunch of them. Sega Genesis is a great console for shooters, and this is just another one to add to the list of games you should check out. Insector X. Make it happen. I want to talk about Kim Possible 2, Draken's Demise. This has nothing to do with the Super Nintendo Draken game, right? And especially at conventions and sometimes at video game stores, these Disney Game Boy Advance games are a dime a dozen. There's so many of them out there, it's hard to keep track. I'm here to tell you, the Kim Possible games are amazing. And this one specifically, the second one, I think is probably the best. I like the first one a lot too, but this one is just great. It's an action game. It's a side-scrolling action. You run around and you beat up the bad guys and all that. You have some side items as well, so you can, you have a grappling hook that you can use. That's totally cool. Nice, huge levels to kind of, have you explore a little bit more, so it's not like super linear. Not that it's what was it called? It's not like a Metroidvania or anything like that, but a game like Kim Possible doesn't need to be like a Metroidvania. They just have giant level, that you have to kind of like, you know, backtrack a little bit, maybe climb up and go over here, then do this other thing. And oh man, I love this game. It's such a fun game, and you would never think it. It took me years to realize this because I was like, Kim Possible, you know, not that Disney show that plays at 3. I never actually watched it. I remember when it came on, and I was like, oh, okay. So then, of course, I'll just change the channel or whatever. But when Kim Possible came around, man, it's when the games came around, I saw them, and I was just like, okay, I'm sure it's fine. But then I had a couple of friends recommended to me. It's like, hey, believe it or not, these Kim Possible games are pretty neat. Now, there you go, Kim Possible. And you can use your lipstick to create this weird trampoline thing. That's, you know, interesting.
I'm a big Vampire Survivor fan, and there's a great indie game on the Steam Deck, and that's Halls of Torment. And it plays like Vampire Survivors, but has the look of the original Diablo. This is a fantastic $5 game, and if you're a fan of Vampire Survivors, you have that quick Twitch gaming, characters unlock, power-ups, a story. You know what? There's a lot to enjoy here, and you know what? These are the types of games that I like to support. These $5 titles that many people may not know about. It is overwhelmingly positive reviews on the Steam Deck, and I highly recommend it. It's only $5. Check it out.
Taking it all the way back with the Game Boy Classic, and this game is called Tumblepop. This is the second game on this list that's a little like Bubble Bobble, but there's nothing wrong with that, because Bubble Bobble pretty much rules. Tumblepop has these kind of larger levels, a couple screens worth that you can side-scroll left and right, but with your vacuum, it's almost like, you know, it's like a Ghostbusters type thing, right? You got your vacuum, you can suck up the enemies and then shoot them back out to defeat the other enemies. That's basically the it of it. And while you do that too, you can collect the letters that might spell out Tumblepop. Fun game to check out. May as well check it out. Tumblepop for the Game Boy Classic. It's a good one, it's a fun one. It's one that you can play for sure. Yeah, we can talk about NES. Remote control. You know, recently for no reason, I've been kind of playing more and more of the game show type console games, of which there are several. You got Family Feud, Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, and I always come back to remote control. Remote control, from what I remember, outside of like MTV News, was the first non-music video show on MTV. I'm probably wrong, but it was one of the times where it's like, hey, I'm okay with them not playing music videos for a bit because this is kind of cool. Now, I mean, they don't even really do music videos much on MTV anymore. I'm also not the demographic, so I can't complain about it. Here's what this game show is. Super great game show. I wish you'd come back today. So you have your TV, and the idea is there's so many channels. There's 9 channels you can choose from. You don't know the topic on any of the channels until you select it. And then you know what it is. And then after you guess the question, you can move to a different channel, or you can select one more question from that same category, only now you know what that category is. So if, you know, maybe you're the only one on the panel of 3 of the other contestants, maybe you're the only one who knows, let's say, Gilligan's Island. Well, then you might think about that and go back to it so you can get the points on, you know, for yourself, when it's your turn to choose. You also have to remember that this game came out in the late 80s, so the questions are all based on television of the time and the reruns of the time. So a lot of questions about Gilligan's Island, Brady Bunch, Hawaii Five-0, stuff like that. You know, Rocky and Bullwinkle's timeless, but you know. Remote control for the NES, check it out. I love it. And again, if you want a personalized, customized recommendation just for you on any console, hit me up on Cameo. Cheap. I'll make it happen for you. And check out these other recommendations. There's a whole lot of games to recommend for a lot of different consoles. There's a lot of stuff out there for sure. And we'll do more of these too, so make sure you're subscribed. Always got another one coming up for you.